one talks about them. Not a whisper word is said. For if you try to crush them, then the town strikes you dead.
This video is for people who are excited and disappointed by the reveal of Gotham Knights. I've come to realize that this video and other feedback from fans is very important for the future of this game. These devs have been in isolation for years without sharing their creativity and hard work to the world. They hold this game very close to their hearts, and no wonder. The game looks awesome. I'm hoping the developers can acknowledge the community's feedback from the good to the concerns. It is very important to speak in the language of the developers who have to present ideas to the team and big ideas to WB themselves. They are a business after all. This language requires focused thoughts and polite feedback, whether it is good or bad. I'm a big fan of WB Montreal's work in the past, and I respect them and their ideas. I hope they are able to have respect for our thoughts as well. Please watch the entire video before coming to conclusions about my thoughts. Before I go into details that I hope can excite you about the game, I want to point out my experience. I reacted to this game live, and when I first heard Batman wasn't in it, at least not as a main playable character, I was still open-minded, but that didn't exactly fall in line with the dream game I had in my head, and my live chat clearly had similar feelings, some not so open-minded about it. Over time though, I have opened my mind to this game, and I found many reasons to look forward to it. This video is a little complicated because I will be covering a lot. I'm going to organize this video by topic cards, as it's the easiest, because not only do I have positives and concerns about the game, but there are a lot of gray areas. The thing about my concerns with this game is that it usually has to do with if they go in the wrong direction with something presented in the trailer / gameplay, but it isn't proven what that direction is yet. I could be completely wrong about these things, and they could be considered assumptions. I'll present them in the second half of this video. I know this intro is long as hell, but I have one more thing to say, and this is very important to me. I'll keep it quick, but the Halo developers 343 Industries took the reins from Bungie to make Halo 4 to a very poor reception that some say was somewhat uncalled for in retrospect. But one thing I do like about 343 is that over time they learned their way through Halo and are making a comeback that the community appreciates. It's called Halo Infinite. I bring this up because 343 developers actively interact and acknowledge the Halo community, taking feedback and support. I hope WB Montreal games can act in a similar way. I think we should leave WB Montreal to do what they do best. They probably know what's best for this game. I am super glad that they are heavily involved with the community on Twitter and such, but I also hope they take community feedback and at least consider it for the future of Gotham Knights. Now I can actually get to the video. The first and most obvious reason I look forward to this game is the Gotham City and free roam. The city is way bigger than anything we have seen in Arkham and just as detailed, or even possibly more so. The main island we see in the trailer seems to be an entirely separate island to the first teaser images we got of Gotham. So if that is correct, we're not only getting this massive island, we are also getting this other island. Even if it's just that first island, it's still bigger than Arkham Knight was. Not only is it bigger, but it's extremely gothic Victorian and even has some modern buildings that actually fit with the city. Who knows what the tallest building in Gotham is and if we've even seen it yet. Cars drive around and trains go by. This city is literally exactly what the fans have been asking for years. I can't get over how well designed the city looks. I just hope the game is taller than Arkham Knight, with an array of skyscrapers, but if not, I'm fine with the scale presented so far. The map itself next to the story is what makes a good free roam DC game like Arkham, and there isn't much to say, more so to just look at the amazing Gotham City they have made. One that is massive and alive, one that could be even bigger than what we saw in the trailer, which is just insane to me.
If anyone asks, I meant to do that.
The graphics in this game are stunning, and I think people get confused by the comic book look the game goes for, especially with its main characters, whose first costumes are nice and clean because it is only the beginning. Also, I implore you to actually watch a 4K version of the trailer and gameplay, because streams in YouTube cause a lot of compression, making things look flat when they aren't. Also, this game isn't in rain like Arkham Knight was, which makes that game all the more impressive due to that choice. This game has only shown snow and clear weather from what I could see. Also, it says it is in a pre-alpha build, so it may look even better in the final product. I will link a 4K version of both the trailer and gameplay in the description. As for the atmosphere, they nail it. From the glow of the dirty church windows, the shine of this misty gold interior, to the creepy atmosphere involving everything Court of Owls. This game is going for a more comic book look than the Arkham games had, especially with the character designs and gameplay elements, such as this Batgirl ability. The environment themselves, though, seem to be just as atmospheric, or even more so, as anything the Arkham games could offer. Now, this is something I think the developers at WB Montreal should at least consider for the future, and this is only based on what was presented at the reveal. This is just my opinion, and I hear many others saying this as well. I think that if I were working on this game, I would tone down some of the crazy colors and effects. If this game wants to go with a serious, mysterious, and possibly scary story like the Court of Owls and the effects of Batman's death on basically his children, then these wacky colors and designs may not immerse the player in the game during those crucial parts, like the creepy halls of the labyrinth, for example. These vibrant aspects, like that Batgirl ability specifically, feel a lot more like an MMORPG in Spider-Man PS4 than a dark mythos of Gotham City and Batman. Spider-Man PS4 and its upcoming sequel works with these things because Spider-Man is a more lighthearted hero in a more lighthearted city. I think Gotham Knights should distinguish itself from Arkham, but not try to look too much like the current Marvel games coming out. If I were talking to WB Montreal themselves, I would say the difference between Arkham and this new game is important, but many fans of the Arkham series feel underwhelmed when it comes to certain aspects they feel make a less serious tone presented in the Gotham Knights reveal. From my understanding, these fans, myself included, are not asking for a carbon copy of Arkham, but just the retention of the serious tone that got them into the franchise in the first place. Arkham Origins specifically, probably my favorite story in Arkham and one of my favorite Batman stories in general, had huge action pieces that were some of the most fun I've ever had in the series. But the grounded and serious story kept me invested and immersed in that world. I'm hoping this game can do the same. Gotham Knights has shown us so much stuff, but at the same time we know so little about what the game actually is, which opens up so many possibilities. We only know 2 villains so far, and there's so much of the map we haven't seen. We don't know what the side missions are, or even know about these characters, as they are completely separate from Arkham. There are probably so many things that we don't even know exist that could be awesome, and people would freak out about. We have only scratched the surface of what this game has to offer after many years of development.
We can tell you this, the mystery in Gotham Knights is way bigger than just the Court of Owls.
I thought this might be important to comment on, seeing as music is so vital to the tone and atmosphere in video games. Music heard in trailers usually aren't in the game and don't always represent what the music sounds like in the game. The soundtrack for Gotham Knights is done by The Flight, a duo who have worked on the OST for Alien Isolation, Horizon Zero Dawn, Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, etc. They've worked on countless other Assassin's Creed projects as well. This is post-recording J-Man, and I just wanted to point out that every single background track you've heard in this video has been done by The Flight, mainly taken from the Alien Isolation OST and the Assassin's Creed Odyssey OST. The Flight isn't tied to a specific sound and experiment with a new theme for each game, but you can clearly see how diverse they are in style and execution of different atmospheres. Especially Alien Isolation, a horror game which is perfect for a Court of Owls storyline. All I know is that The Flight is going to experiment again with a new style and new sounds to fit Gotham Knights the best. The tone they go for, I would assume, depends on what is written for the game and what tone the devs want to go for. My favorite OSTs are always the ones that are intense and serious. Even the LEGO games, from LEGO Batman 1 to the newest DC villains, have serious OSTs. I don't have any doubts for the Flight's ability to make a phenomenal soundtrack for this game. This is the most important aspect to me when it comes to games in general. I hope this game is more than just fun, and I hope that the story and tone is taken as seriously as the gameplay. I don't want to just have fun, I want to be impacted like the Arkham games did for me. I'm asking that this game takes itself seriously and that it takes its characters seriously too. The Bat family should have conflict and there should be impactful themes. All of that for this game to go from a good game to a great game in my eyes. My first viewing of both the trailer and especially the gameplay left me with a weird feeling that I couldn't describe, that the game may be the opposite, that it was a less serious game than its predecessors, one of which was made by the same developer as this one. But over time I realized a few things, that this trailer and this gameplay wasn't just for me, a die-hard Arkham and Batman fan, but also to sell to a general audience who expect cool action and fun gameplay. The gameplay they chose was action-packed for a reason, and it may not represent how the entire game will feel. If you do look into the trailer though, they made sure to include the tone-heavy scenes for fans like us, mainly the Court of Owls scene at the end, which was amazingly shot, just like their former game. Another part of it, I think, is that at the moment we don't expect the dark tones and story given by Batman to be represented by his brightly colored Bat family. But that is just because we have never had a Bat family game, and I hope this game proves that wrong. Batman Arkham had a completely different marketing strategy than this game. Arkham's first advert is always a cinematic trailer that represents the tone of the game perfectly. Arkham City, Origins, and Knight all did this, and it created huge hype and set off a great tone and gave context to its first trailers. This game doesn't have that cinematic trailer for the better or worse. While I like the trailer for this game, the music and vibrant elements used in it is selling a more action-packed game than an interesting grounded tone and storyline. But it is just a trailer and it may not represent at all what the game is like. Neither can the short gameplay we got. I think a part of this is me wanting the seriousness of the Arkham games, and that may not be what this game is going for, or it could be. I simply can't tell yet. But in general, this game looks good so far. The amount of possibilities there are with these 4 awesome characters is endless, and I don't think Batman needs to be the main character for this to be good. I also really do think Batman will show up in the end alive somehow in the labyrinth or something like that. Simply put, Gotham Knights is not an Arkham game. It's different. And as much as I would want another Batman game, this is fine. We aren't owed a Batman game, and a lot of the teases they made usually only hinted at the Court of Owls and members of the Bat family. I'm not saying you are required to be hyped for this game, and I do think that WB Montreal's teaser campaign should have been a bit more clear and consistent. But it doesn't justify anger just because someone didn't get what they wanted for Christmas. I will admit I am at fault for using quote-unquote Batman game in some of my titles before.
This mission is halfway through the Mr. Freeze storyline, and we're playing Batgirl a dozen or so hours into her character progression. An important element of Gotham Knights is that as the player increases in power and ability, their foes keep pace. So confronting a villain like Mr. Freeze can be a very different proposition at level 5 or at level 15.
I think this means that there will be parts of the story that won't be done in any given order, but you choose which to do, which sounds cool on paper. I just hope this doesn't limit the storytelling that can be done with a fixed storyline. I'm sure parts of the game are in a fixed timeline, and we don't know to what extent these selectable paths reach throughout the story. This type of storytelling can be difficult to pull off, but when done well, it is insanely good. One thing that would be cool is if the player gets choices that actually affect the story in the end, kind of like a Fallout game. One thing that people have pointed out that I have huge concerns about is that this game has some RPG-esque elements, such as enemy stats, levels, gear, etc. Arkham had stuff like upgrades, but the enemies themselves never changed in difficulty. The environment, enemy types, and number of enemies got greater over time. Now, I'm not going to immediately write these mechanics off. I love RPGs such as the early Fallout series, but for a Bat Family game that is heavily inspired from Arkham, there are so many ways this can go wrong. I do not, repeat, do not want to grind in this game. I don't want to grind in a Bat Family game, especially for drops. I don't want quote-unquote infinite side missions or tower missions as a bulk of the game. I just feel like that type of gameplay is really oversaturated at the moment, and I hope WB Montreal is going in a unique direction with this gameplay. I love something like Arkham because you can only play a certain side mission one time, and there's no time-consuming grinding. The only infinite side mission I liked was Crimes in Progress from Arkham Origins, which is returning in this game, and I hope that is the only place infinite grinding is done. I also hope that these mechanics are used to create a unique playthrough and not just to stop me from beating a level 10 thug who has a magically higher health bar than the other thugs that look exactly the same. I want this game to require skill and not just require grind for better stats. That said, this can be done correctly, it can be done amazingly, and I hope this talented studio does that. I'm guessing the main reason the enemies need to unrealistically get stronger, if that is the case, is due to balancing the player for storylines done in random orders. Arkham had your character at the same power for the whole game with better tools and moves over time. This game is literally making your character stronger over time, which I'm not really sure about, because what is the point in making a stronger character if that strongness is just voided because of the scaling of enemy difficulty? Will the scaling be a lower or higher rate than that of the player? It's just hard to understand with the little information we have. Right now, and I could be wrong, it feels weird to have the bars above people's head instead of just hitting them until they are down like real life would be. This game is just going for a more comic book style, and we don't really know much yet about how the game actually works. I would hope, as experienced game designers, they have already recognized these possible concerns when making the game. This isn't a perfect compromise, but a cool idea would be to have a lot of these elements like health bars to disappear on a harder difficulty, or even have a lot of the effects be toggleable or customizable to what tone the player wants. You can already customize the suits anyways. It could be possible that with a little work, this game can appeal to both serious players and players who just want to have lighthearted fun. I also hope WB Entertainment doesn't succumb to making microtransactions out of this system. Some fans are really skeptical of what games this is inspired from, and something thrown around that may be a big assumption is Fortnite clone or live service game. None of this has been confirmed, but I will put it out there that I would rather the game be a story-focused game than anything like Fortnite. And I don't think a decision like that would gel at all with DC Games fans. But again, we can't assume what it might be, we simply don't know yet. I am a little concerned about Gotham Knights' combat compared to Arkham's combat. I'm totally okay with new gameplay mechanics, and I actually wanted new mechanics if there were to be a new DC game. But my concern is that this gameplay may be less satisfying and simpler than the already simple Arkham combat. My first big issue is that spamming the X button on this thug doesn't look as satisfying as Arkham. It doesn't seem like the thug is really reacting to every single hit Batgirl is throwing at him. But a bigger issue that I really hope is just a coincidence in the gameplay is that only one person attacks at a time, which is extremely unrealistic. Batgirl leaves this guy and he just sits there and does nothing while she is beating up someone else like 10 feet away. The AI in this sequence just seemed extremely dumb, and I hope it's just because it's on easy or something. This is a very speculative concern, because we barely know anything about the combat yet, just like many other elements of this game. It seems that the complicated side of this combat has to do with upgrades, gear, and abilities. And maybe enemies do attack all at once, it just didn't happen in the 2 fights Batgirl got in. The thing is that I can't really judge or confirm if I'll enjoy this combat because I don't know nearly enough about it yet. Some of the moves from the trailer did look badass though. The thing about some of the concerns is that if they are done correctly, they could become huge positives for this game. Here is something that Sanity/Harry, my friend, said about the game that I think captures exactly how I feel as well. I'm excited because to me, a game developer wouldn't put this much time into a game if they were only going to make a game abusing new gameplay tropes and techniques. Look at the city. The city itself is so detailed and crowded. To me, if this were a game developer that didn't care and were only going to make a mediocre fun game over a groundbreaking great game, they would have made no NPCs and made the city empty like the other games. An argument to this could be that maybe gameplay requires NPCs, but to me, no, because in other games with NPCs, they typically come off as useless and aren't necessary nor needed in the game. We saw a 4-minute trailer that had the task of making their game seem good to casuals and also us, the fans. And what way did they do that? They advertised it in 2 different ways. To us, they showed the teaser images hinting at the story, and they made the gameplay trailer and story trailer for all viewers. But even at that, all elements of the story shown within the trailer look artistic and honestly gorgeous in a way I haven't seen since Spider-Verse. Weird comparison, but I get those kinds of vibes. Even if this game isn't exactly what you wanted, if you wanted a solo Batman story, I can say that this game may not be the perfect game you wanted, but it will probably still be a good game, and who knows, it may be a great game. We just need to keep an open mind and see what's coming for the future. Personally, I'm excited for Gotham Knights. And if you're a Batman fan that feels disappointed, then just watch this.
The hell are you supposed to be? I'm vengeance.
My wish for this video is that it can be seen by at least one developer at WB Montreal games. If any do get to this point, I want to thank you for your hard work in bringing the characters I love to life in your games. I also thank you for giving excitement to a 12-year-old me when the first trailer came out for Batman Arkham Origins. Origins is one of my favorite games of all time, and I have played it over and over again, over 20 times probably. And for those reasons, I respect these developers very, very much. I respect you very, very much, and I congratulate any new people on the team. With that said, thanks for your hard work, and I look forward to see what this game has to offer.